Hey everybody, I just want to take a couple minutes out of my day to share some things with you guys that I've come across in my story that I feel are valuable as far as the way we interact with people in our lives, loved ones, family members and whatnot. And it has to do with expectations. A lot of times we expect certain things in certain ways that we want to be treated from people. And it's a beautiful thing, everybody wants to be treated with love and respect, and everybody wants to feel like they're having a fair trade of favors and love and communication. And a lot of times I think it gets distorted because of our lack of communication. So this is one of the instances that I think is, a killer of relationships and of communication. And it's, it has to do with expectations or lack of expressing your expectations to others. And it kind of goes like this. It's like, we don't feel like we shouldn't have to tell somebody how we want to be treated. I shouldn't have to tell my loved one how I want to be treated. They should know. I shouldn't have to tell them that, hey, I'm struggling in this situation, I need your help. If I come to you and let you know that I'm having a situation that I'm struggling with, you should be able to just go ahead and put forth the initiative to help me with that. And a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. So then, we don't express our expectations to people. They don't fulfill those expectations. And then we hold this resentment and we start judging them. And the worst part is not confronting them. So, we treated them a certain way with love and respect, and they didn't give us that back. And, it was like a chip on our shoulder. We said, well, we didn't confront them, but it was a chip that we put on our shoulder. And then next week, they did something else or whatnot, and there's another chip on your shoulder. And for some reason, it's very easy that a lot of people, you don't want to confront those people. I think a lot of it has to do with, fear of rejection. You don't want confrontation. A lot of times people don't like confrontation. And then a lot of other times people have pride of self. You have so much pride of yourself that you said, you don't want to let that person know that you need their help and your respect because you have pride. You don't want to be a burden to them. Right? So there comes that wall that is put up, and it's a lack of communication. So now that person keeps doing things that you expect, not doing things you expected them to do, and you're building up this resentment and this hate towards these people that you love. And eventually they end up doing something small, and you unleash the beast on them because you have this whole bundle of hate and of resentment that you've been holding and that you haven't been giving to them and making them accountable for. And it's a problem, and it ends up leaving your relationships, in bad places. And then it's hard to kind of put things back together when you've let so much resentment and hate get built up. So I think it's very important to make sure that you voice your expectations to other people and to voice the way you want to be treated to these people, and let them be accountable for the times they don't live up to those expectations and live up to those ways that you want to be treated, and instead of keeping it to yourself. Because if you really think about it, when you keep it to yourself, you're letting the unhappiness that person brought to you, you're harboring it inside yourself, and eventually it's going to get to be so much that it's going to take your happiness away. It's going to ruin your relationships, or any of the things like that. So the expectations, and it also goes into your life of like, what do you expect of yourself? We all have expectations of ourselves, and when we don't fulfill those expectations, a lot of times it's easy to be very negative with ourselves, and also to be putting ourselves down. You make a mistake and you tell yourself, man, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I did that. And then next week you make a mistake again, you say, man, I'm such a fucking idiot, I did it again. And we get into this cycle of self-hate. And it doesn't do any good for our progress of dealing with our problems. And it's very easy to get into that cycle, and you end up beating yourself down over things and ruining your self-confidence and ruining the way that you look at yourself. Always speak good to yourself, because you are always listening. Your soul's always listening. Nourish yourself with good thoughts. And I'm not saying to just be ignorant and keep doing the same things over and over again and telling yourself that's okay. that's just there's no common sense in that. There does take a certain amount of common sense, but I think it is very important to speak to ourselves in a manner that's nurturing, not in a way that is, hurtful and that is degrading ourselves. So, a lot of times in life, things don't go the way we plan, and we have these expectations in our own life, and they don't go the way we plan, and then we find ourselves, beating ourselves over it and, letting it get the best of us. So I think it's very important to, understand that, life is ever changing, and there's always going to be circumstances and people and emotions that are brought up from things that are going to test your patience and test your ability to remain happy and to remain calm. But the most important thing is to make sure that we nurture ourselves in the process and not let situations and people come in between our happiness with ourselves and our oneness and our centeredness of ourselves. I just think it's, I just want to share some things with you, and I hope maybe that this resonates with you. And if it doesn't, hey, nothing, no harm done. But yeah, speak sweet to yourselves. I think it's very important to wake up every morning and speak sweet to yourself. A lot of us, we wait for our friends and our family to tell us these things that we want to hear. We all want to be spoke to a certain way, and we do our best to treat people in a way, and we're hoping to get that treatment back. But we're waiting to get that treatment back and that validation back. And then when we don't get it back, it can leave us very unhappy, and it can leave us with these, feelings that aren't good. So instead of looking at it like that, the way I feel and the way I've come to understand is that you treat yourself and you speak to yourself the way that you want to be treated from your significant other, from your family members, from your friends. You give yourself that love and you give yourself that respect. You wake up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, Charles, you're the man. You're going to go out today, you're going to say all the right things to the right people, and you're going to manifest a good life. Whatever your beliefs are through God, just build on it. But understand that there does come a necessity for a knowledge of self. So, wake up in the morning and embellish yourself with all these good things. Look yourself in the mirror and smile. Smile in the mirror. Your bills might not all be paid. Your situations might not always be the way you want them. Your relationships might not be perfect. All these things. But to wait for those things to be right, for you to feel right, nothing will ever be perfect. Very seldomly. So to wait for everything to be perfect, for you to tell yourself that you could feel a certain way, is selling yourself short on your happiness. So, tell yourself beautiful things, look yourself in the mirror, build that energy and build up that love for yourself. Don't wait for this special soulmate to come and tell you all these things that you want to hear, these beautiful things about yourself. You speak to yourself and you build that love in yourself. You carry yourself in a broken manner because of past situations and because of past relationships and because of the past of life. Not being successful in money, not being successful in your career, not being successful in your arts. And then when you carry yourself in that manner, that's what you attract. You're going to attract another mate who's not whole either. And they're going through pain and they have their head down. And now you attract somebody like that, and you're both looking for love in each other that neither of you have. You can't supply it. The other person can't supply it for you. You can't supply it for them. And then you end up lost and just falling in love. I think it's very important to stand in love, not fall in love. Fall in love is good when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you fall in love over the summer. She goes back away home, and you get your heart broken, and it's the worst feeling in the world. That's falling in love. Now that I've grown up a little bit more, I kind of understand that, I want to stand in love. I want to build a love for me that's so strong that I could stand. And then if someone wants to stand next to me and they want to share love and they want to build with me, that's fine. But it's not about being fallen in love, because if you're falling in love and if you fell in love, how can you ever support the other person if you're both laying on your backs? So, I think it's very important to understand about, self-talk and building yourself up and, speaking to yourself in a sweet way that's nourishing your soul and that's not beating you down and just, making you a less of a man or a woman or a person. and carry yourself in a way that people want to, be around you. Nobody wants to be around somebody that all they do all the time is complain about everything that's wrong in their life. It comes to a point where, people just, they're gonna want to gravitate away from you because you start to exchange that negativity into them. So I think it's very important that we